like to welcome Susana Lima, who runs the Neurogenesis lab here at the CMT and studies mating behavior. Good night, so my name is Susana, and as Claire said, I run the neurology laboratory at the Champalimaud Centre program, and we are mainly interested in female reproductive behavior, in particular mate choice and sexual behavior. And so that's why I think I was chosen to talk about sex differences in the brain. And so, are they actual myths or reality? And so, let's start with a very simple exercise. So, who do you think, like from these two lists, which one represents girls? This one? Okay. So, as Peter said, we have a lot of stereotypes and urban legends in our daily life as humans, and probably it's also not so surprising that we usually categorize girls as being the Barbies and boys being the ones that play with the action man figures. But who plays with Ken? So the main reason why I'm talking about this is that, as Peter said, most of the stereotypes that we actually have about boys and girls are actually constructs made through thousands of years of culture, or things that are actually not true. And if we actually go to the beginning, if we start trying to understand where these differences are arising, if we actually look at the embryo, our current knowledge about how these sex differences in the brain arise, what we think today is that every embryo has more or less all the full capacity to be either more female or more male, okay? And what happens is that through the process of development, the interaction between the genotype, which is like the genes in the case of women, which in our species is the XX, and in boys it's the XY, the interaction with genes and hormones and environments is going to lead you to a more female phenotype, and in the case of boys, it will lead you to a more male phenotype. What I want to stress from here is that actually, so there's not just pink and blue, it's not black and white. We actually live all in a continuum, and everybody is somewhere around these lines, okay? And so what I would like to tell you today is a series of facts and some explanations. So if you go through to the internet, if you Google, you will see that there's thousands of all these misconceptions about the differences between boys and girls, and some are myths, some are reality, and some we have explanations. I'm going to talk just about some of them that our current knowledge today, we feel confident that they are actually right, okay? And I'll offer some explanations. I cannot offer more explanations because we don't have them, okay? And so I hope that this will be a teaser for you maybe in the future. Some of you may become scientists, and these will be kind of interesting questions that you would like to pursue. Okay, so we know that there's structural differences in the brain, okay? So males have bigger brains and they have more cells, okay? But women, on the other hand, they have a bigger corpus callosum and they have more cell connections. So the corpus callosum is a structure, it's a brain area where you have fibers that connect one hemisphere, the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere, for example. And we have thinking about the brain as having more cellular connections, you can think that, okay, males have bigger brains, but we have more compact brains. So we know that there's the structural differences, okay? But are they, and we know that there's sexual behavior differences. But besides the sexual behavior differences, are there any real functional differences between males and females? And so I'd like to start by a small test. Okay, so I'm going to show you two images, and I'm going to divide the test first in boys and then in girls. And I want you to tell me if there's two images that are going to show up, and the one on the right might be or not a rotation of the one on the left. And so the images are going to show up for 10 seconds, and then I want you to vote again in this very sophisticated, high-tech version of raise your hand. First boys and then girls, if you think it's the same or not, okay? So look at the two images. Same or different? Boys?
Same.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's go to the girls.
Exatamente o mesmo grau de força. É muito. É muito.
Sorry, okay. Thank you for cooperating. And so I'm really sorry to say that this is one of the examples where actually men are better. Okay, so men are better at mental rotations and spatial skills. And there's recent data that actually shows that you can see differences in babies that are as young as 5 months old. Okay, so if you ask, you cannot ask them verbally, but if you do tests with babies that are young as 5 months old, you already see differences between boys and girls. So, but let's talk about language. Okay, in this case, women are definitely better. Okay, and the reason why it's because we have these two areas, the Wernicke and the broken language associated regions, are bigger in women's brain. And because they are bigger, they are also, like, we think that that's why we also have superior language skills. Another interesting thing is that while men seem to be more focused and stuck on one hemisphere, women are more plastic and are able to use the two hemispheres for a sort of different tasks, including language. And so, for example, this is one of the reasons why when women have strokes, they are much better at recovering than men, okay? Because they use one or the other hemispheres. Pain sensation. Actually, women are more sensitive than men. So when we complain, it's not because we are being just women, just intense. It's actually we are more sensitive. And this arises from a variety of reasons. One of them is that most of the data actually comes from using like opioids, like morphine. And what we see is that women need much more concentration of the drug than men in order to relieve pain. And it seems like we have less receptors for like morphine drugs. Also, the way we process pain seems to be different. In the case, so the amygdala is a structure deep in your brain that is important for pain and other things. And if you look at the activity of the right amygdala, it seems to be in males or in females, it seems like the males use more the right amygdala. But we don't know why. What these differences will be. Another thing that is very interesting is the response under threat or danger. Okay? Here, if you look, men tend to have this fight or flight. So the fight, we know exactly which one it is. The flight is the runaway. Okay? Women, on the contrary, they seem to have more of this stand and befriend strategy. And the stand seems to particularly, it's observed in cases where women are with the babies. And so instead of running away, they stay with the babies. And also befriending. And this has to do with making your social bonds stronger. Okay? It's like making your group stronger. And we actually have some indication of why this is happening in the brain, and it seems to be related with oxytocin. So oxytocin is a very interesting molecule that is released in our brain and in our body, because in all different types of social interaction and other kind of behaviors, from interactions of mothers and babies, from just purely social interactions to romantic interactions, and it seems to be involved in trust and bonding. So, but both males and females release oxytocin. So why do they behave so differently? And one of the clues seems to come from testosterone and estrogen. So these are sex hormones that males have a lot of these and females have a lot of these. And one thing that is interesting is that testosterone seems to lower the effect of oxytocin. And so this trusting and bonding effect that oxytocin has is decreased by the presence of testosterone. While in females, estrogen does exactly the opposite. And so this could be at the root of the two types of behavior that you observe. Another thing that we see gender differences relates to psychiatric disorders. So unfortunately, women are more prone to depression, but men usually have earlier onset and are more severe schizophrenia. So I don't don't know which one is better. So just to conclude, what I would like you to take home from my short talk, first is that sexual differences in the brain are caused by the interaction of genes and hormones. So it's not just the genes or it's just not the environment. It's a very complex interaction between multiple factors. Structural differences, we have them, okay? And they exist at the level of structure and function. Sex differences go beyond the sexual behavior and reproduction, and they go from pain to coping with stress strategies or solving cognitive problems. And very importantly, I would like you to take from this message that there is a continuum between male and female brains. Also, men are better at some things and women are better at others. And although the differences exist, the brains of men and women are more similar than they are different. Okay, thank you.
So we're going to keep all of you on your toes. Everyone, get your cell phones ready and please get ready to vote for the next question. Myth or fact, brain cells do not regenerate. Tiago, student, will give an
Sure. We know that like since the 60s actually, when some clever guys injected pieces of radioactive DNA into the brain, and after some days they found some neurons that contained that DNA, meaning they could only be newborn neurons. And well, since then, huge progress has been made in understanding how those neurons are incorporated and affected, how they affect the activity that's ongoing in those very complex circuits. And also people figured out some things that might help you grow new neurons, and those are physical exercise, drugs such as antidepressants, apparently sex as well, and well, brain lesions, but that you don't want it to be yourself occasionally, right? But yeah, that's it.
Agora.